Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today we're going to do a review of a trap that you can find in Legends and Layers Traps and Treachery Volume I. To set the stage for you, let's say your player characters were victorious in defeating a red dragon. They go to find the loot and they find a treasure chest that has been tipped over, but it's still 90% full of coins inside. They set it up right, they plan on getting it out, but all these other coins are still scattered about the floor. Are the players in your game greedy enough to get that extra 10% of loot? If so, then they'll trigger the trap. Today we're going to look at one last coin. So what I'd like to do today is show you how this trap is in the book and offer an option that I may use when I actually run this trap in my game. Now, the basic or generality of this trap is there is an Efreet that is trapped underneath a gold coin in this room. And that was done by a high-level wizard that cast a binding spell on this Efreet. So there was probably like a crevice, a very small crevice or crack in the floor. So this one simple gold coin, if it is moved, it is the only thing that is holding this Efreet in with that wizard's binding spells. So if the characters go and try to get the rest of this gold, they're going to pick this coin up and out comes this Efreet. So that's the basics of this monster trap. Now let me show you how I would run it in my game. The adventurers are headed to this volcano where resides the big bad that has been there since the beginning of the campaign, level 1. And they begin at the top of this mountainside here, and guarding this is going to be a red dragon. So this is going to be probably towards the end of one of our sessions. It's going to end here, and I may just use like a wormling or a young red dragon, depending on the level of when they get there and what type of shape they're in. And we'll pick up on our next session. They're going to be able to enter this dungeon, which is, again, it's built into the side of this mountain. And I probably should have made this a little bit wider. I've got this about 20 feet across, so I do want the dragon to be able to come in here. So I would probably extend this out. And these squares here are just a big set of double doors. So they come in through this. Again, this is at least 20 feet wide and extremely tall, so a dragon can come back in here if he wants to. And I'll have a set of double doors here with this little bit of foyer here, maybe some the remains of some of the dragon's previous lunches and dinners or things of that nature. But once they come in here, and we're just now beginning, but they don't know that, this is going to be the loot or the treasure room for the dragon. And then over here, we actually begin the descent down into the dungeon and going through the levels and layers where they'll eventually meet the big bad. But here we have a loot room, and we'll have maybe some statues in here, some things that aren't really valuable. I mean, they might be a little bit valuable, but they're pretty heavy and stuff. But the main focus will be this treasure chest, and it is tipped over. So maybe the dragon, stepped on it, get that little claw going in there, spilled the treasure all over. But there's going to be gold pieces all around. And I'll let them pick up. This will probably be about 90% of the treasure. They can pick this up here. Now it's at this point that I'll decide where I'm going to put my trap. If I decide to go with one last coin and I ask the adventurers, say there's, you picked up about 90% of the treasure, there's still a few pieces of gold laying about, do you want to make sure that you get all of it? Maybe even have them make a perception roll. Then I can trigger the trap as if when they start gathering that last 10%, one of those coins is what was holding back the Efreet. And when they pick up that coin, they release the Efreet. Now, a different idea that I had was, let's say I have a fighter and he's been wanting a magical sword. He's still using like a regular sword, or maybe he only has a sword +1 or something like that. Or I could use maybe my ranger. But what I plan on doing is kind of like the King Arthur thing. So we have this sword and it's stuck into this rock. Now, keep in mind that this entire area is going to smell of volcanic ash and brimstone. So I could also, instead of having the last coin trigger the trap, instead I could go with this. Like I said, I could use a sword for a fighter, or maybe my ranger. Maybe there's an arrow that's stuck in here, and I decide that the arrow triggers it. And I can tell them, okay, you see this sword that is stuck into this rock, or you see this arrow that is stuck into the side of the wall. And I'll make it a little bit hard for them too. I'll have them make a strength check and maybe set the DC to 15 or higher, just to make it seem like this is a legit thing. And of course, if someone casts detect magic, they'll see that this sword or this arrow or what have you is going to be a magical weapon, and that will be part of the treasure they get afterwards. But again, as soon as they take this out, they're going to trigger the trap, and this bad guy here is going to come out of there, and he's going to be super pissed off, and the party will now have to fight this Ifrit that has been trapped in this room for who knows how long. So let's do a quick recap on the one last coin trap. This is a magical or a monster trap. There is a search DC of 25, and if this is met, then the character or the thief or whoever is investigating can probably feel that the ground or the area around the coin or the weapon, whatever you choose, that is holding the Ifrit in, is a lot hotter or a lot warmer than the rest of the area. Or perhaps if you're not in a volcano area like I plan on doing, the smell of sulfur can be smelled. So if they get down and smell around this coin, they're going to smell a bunch of sulfur or things of that nature. The disabled DC is none because the coin is not magical. You can cast detect magic on it, but it is not going to work. The DC to disable this trap, there is not any, as previously discussed. Perhaps a dispel magic is not going to work on this, or perhaps it does work and it just simply lets the Ifrit out. The trigger for this is to move the object that is binding the extraplanar creature. There is no saving throw allowed for this, and the effect is now the players are going to fight a pissed off Ifrit or other bound extraplanar creature. And of course, as far as a location, you could put this trap in a dungeon, a volcano, a sealed temple, or something similar. Unlike puzzle videos, I really struggle at making my own traps. So when I put a trap in a game, it's usually from a book like this. Now, if this is a video series that you'd like to see, where I go and pull an old book off the shelf and review one of the traps inside, then leave a comment below and we'll make this a regular thing. I've got a few more. I've got Traps and Treachery Part 2. We've got the Trap Compendium. And we've got Trapsmith. Plus, I'm sure I can find other books out there where we can pull traps out and just take a look at them and see if we would make any changes or how we would use them in our game. So again, leave a comment below if you'd like to see traps as a featured video series on this channel. So that's all I have for you today. Again, that is one last coin. And what did you think of the puzzle? Is this something that you would use in your game? Would you have it as written, where the characters pick up a coin and let out the bottled Ifrit? Or would you have like a magical sword that is stuck in the ground, or a magical arrow in the wall, and when they pull that out, it lets out the Ifrit? Or would you come up with something of your own? Make sure you leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the trap and how you would use it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching, and on to the next.